La 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 la. Ooh, baby, do you know what that's worth? Ooh, the Shadow Realm's a place on Earth. They say in card games you won't die. We'll expose that as a big fat lie. Ooh, the Shadow Realm's a place on Earth. Also, hey! How's it going, guys? LittleKuriboh back once again with another episode of Yu-Gi-Oh! Watches LittleKuriboh GX. It's watching me. What? No. LittleKuriboh watches Yu-Gi-Oh! GX, episode 28. And this is the second part of a two-parter duel involving Jaden and the Gravekeeper Chief, whose name is one of the most obnoxious that I've ever had to say in the history of saying names. Said a lot of stupid names in my life, but Gravekeeper Chief takes the Gravekeeper cake. And if you're wondering what happened on the last episode, here's a brief summary. It was brilliant. No, of course more than that happened. Jaden and his friends went on a field trip to the ruins where the Shadow Games were played on Academy Island, and they found an ancient artifact that transported them to another dimension where they are at the actual, like, full-on Gravekeeper land, tomb, whatever. I'm not entirely sure where they are or what they're doing, but they've all been captured, and Jaden is being forced to duel the leader of this alternate dimension culture known as the Gravekeeper Chief, or the GC. And Jaden's friends have been stuffed into coffins, and every time he loses life points, the lids on the coffins start to close a little bit. You might suggest that this duel is not dissimilar to the duel between Jaden and the Undertaker, where Alexis was stuffed in a coffin, and if Jaden lost, she was gone forever. But no, this duel is very different. This has 4 coffins. But not only that, the Gravekeeper Chief in this duel has managed to both set monsters in defense mode and also summon them in defense mode. So apparently some debate in this dimension as to how the defense mode rules are supposed to work. So without further explanation, I want to jump right into the second part of this episode, because we did leave it on a bit of a cliffhanger. Almost literally, because Jaden and the Gravekeeper Chief are stood on what could be described as cliff edges, giant stone pillars of sorts. And they're facing off against each other across a massive crevasse within which the 4 coffins holding Jaden's friends are floating. And as we return to the episode, the Gravekeeper Chief himself mocks Jaden for his friend's predicament.
Fret not. You won't hear your friend's screams when they're muffled by the buried earth.
Muffled by the buried earth? Who buries earth? Why would you need to? What are you hoping to grow? Were you like, oh, I found some special earth, better bury it so nobody finds it? In the earth, the buried earth. Come on. You're a Gravekeeper Chief. You should know about what gets buried and what doesn't. You can't bury something within itself. That's just adding to it. Jaden draws a card and hears Winged Kuriboh's sultry voice seducing him. And he looks at his card and it is indeed a Winged Kuriboh that he's drawn. And then for some reason he inhales through his nostrils for a good 3 seconds before deciding what to do with it.
You're always around to get my back. Or in this case, to guard my front.
Why did you need to sniff so hard to know that your front needed guarding? Does your front have a distinct odor that your back doesn't? Actually, don't answer that, please, Jaden. I love the smell of card games in the morning. Smells like getting your game on. Little Apocalypse Now reference for your Yu-Gi-Oh! GX review, so bit of culture. Jaden summons Winged Kuriboh in defense mode. These pesky kids and their conflicting defense mode rules. Jaden promises to release his friends from these coffins they're trapped in and ends his turn, upon which the Gravekeeper Chief says,
The blind lead the blind, and the weak protect the weak.
Oh, is he talking about the person who had to adapt the script for this show? Gravekeeper Chief makes a stunning revelation.
Hiding behind that Kuriboh may be your idea of defense, but in my world, rodents like that are for pounding, not protection.
This guy f***s Kuribohs. I'm not interested, mate, for the record. No pounding needed here. Jaden defends his defense mode Kuriboh.
He's no rodent. He's one of my very best friends.
Well, I'm sure all of Jaden's actual friends down in those coffins probably feel very comforted to know that they're at least as valuable to Jaden as Winged Kuriboh. Also, haven't these guys like maybe shared 4 or 5 sentences? How are they best friends? He don't even speak your language, Jaden. Gravekeeper Chief has no shortage of comebacks.
Well, with friends like you, he needs no enemies.
I wonder what a Kuriboh's natural enemies are. Flying Roombas? I mean, for the record, my natural enemy is the YouTube copyright system. Anyway, Jaden activates his spell card, Transcendent Wings. Oh, so lovely. They're so transcendent, them wings. Jaden explains that he must give up 2 cards in order to upgrade Winged Kuriboh to Winged Kuriboh level 10. And the Gravekeeper Chief calls Jaden a brainless cur and says he knew that he was going to do that. Gravekeeper Chief hasn't even watched the first 26 episodes of this show, and he's already tired of Jaden's shtick. Gravekeeper Chief then uses the power of Gravekeeper's Watcher, which is a monster card that gains some sort of purple ethereal aura. Oh shit, Gravekeeper Chief has clearly been to Rhyme City recently, where he's picked up some R so he can artificially enhance his Pokemon. Gravekeeper Chief explains that by sending Gravekeeper's Watcher to the Gravekeeper's the graveyard, he can negate the activation of Transcendent Wings. Gravekeeper's Watcher is then seen trying to yank the wings off of Winged Kuriboh like he's some sort of insect. I checked the credits and there's nothing in there that says no Winged Kuribohs were harmed during the making of this duel, so that's concerning. Gravekeeper Chief then follows up with a stealth slice strike from Gravekeeper's assailant, whose curvy dagger grows massive until it's like a big curvy sword. Yeah, nothing says stealth attack quite like making your sword so big that it can be seen from like 2 miles away. Also, stealth slice strike is clearly just a more subtle version of axe slash bash. Axe slash bash! Come on! Jaden commiserates upon the loss of Winged Kuriboh.
Sorry, Winged Kuriboh. You took one for the team there. Thanks, pal.
Yeah, clearly these guys are best friends. Sorry you had to take one from the team there, pal. You're dead! Summoning his best friend who immediately dies and then forgetting he was in the duel altogether. Yeah, bestest friends is. Hilariously, while still in their coffins and wrapped in bandages, Cyrus and Chumley explain that the effect of Winged Kuriboh means that Jaden doesn't take damage this turn. I wish that while being buried alive, I also had the mental fortitude to explain card game rules. You know, especially to other people who are also being buried alive, who already know that information. I just hope I have that kind of strength when the time arises. As the Gravekeeper Chief sets a card face down, he points out that not only did he counter Jaden's move, he also destroyed his rodent.
Winged Kuriboh's no rodent!
Would you prefer vermin or perhaps rats?
What kind of rats do you guys have in this dimension? They got wings? Seriously, what kind of rats have they got in this dimension? No wonder they need so many guards holding spears. They're probably getting attacked by giant fluffy rats with wings all the time. Get out of here, rats. We don't want you. Stop having wings, you bastards! Jaden activates Pot of Greed, which, in this dimension, I suppose, summons the actual Pot of Greed in front of him. Pot of Greed has that look on his face. Like, you know, if you're watching a movie with a group of friends and one of you knows the twist ending already, and he's just going like, the whole time you're watching. What dick, Pot of Greed? Why you, Pot of dick? Jaden summons Dark Catapulter in defense mode, which is like a big old robot dragon dude with massive shoulder blades. Clearly having combined the strongest traits of both robots and dragons, the shoulders. Jaden then plays the spell card Mirage of Nightmare and places 3 cards face down. And nothing could possibly make Jaden putting 3 cards face down more exciting than this squeedly diddly guitar riff that plays.
And I'm gonna throw down 3 face downs!
So exciting. Squeedly diddly. When the Gravekeeper Chief draws, Jaden points out that Mirage of Nightmare's effect means that on his opponent's turn he can keep drawing until he gets 4 cards in his hand. And it sounds like Jaden gets something pretty good.
Sweet!
Sweet? Does that wretched slang mean you've drawn some good cards?
Holy shit. This guy has 0 patience for Jaden's bollocks, and I kind of appreciate it. Like he's from another dimension and he has very little reason to hate everything Jaden does, but he does anyway.
Well, don't be so sure. You don't know what is good because you don't know what you're up against.
Oh damn, telling Jaden that he might not know what is definitively sweet might actually throw Jaden's entire worldview out of whack. I thought it was sweet, but now I'm not so sure. Gravekeeper Chief takes his turn.
I now sacrifice Gravekeeper's curse to summon myself.
Summon yourself? I mean, go on, but... What? A magical yellow whirlwind effect appears around the Gravekeeper Chief, and then he is magically transported onto the f***ing field. Jaden, you should summon yourself, see how it goes. I mean, the worst thing that happened is you fall down a big hole and maybe die. But you'll be with your friends, so... Isn't that the most important thing for you, Jaden? Gravekeeper Chief explains that due to Necro Valley's effect, he gains 500 attack while he's on the field. And to make things worse for Jaden, while Gravekeeper Chief is on the field, Necro Valley doesn't affect Gravekeeper Chief's graveyard. So Gravekeeper Chief can now use any monster spell or trap effects on any of the monsters laid to rest there. And he also gets to summon one Gravekeeper monster from his graveyard. This guy is the Gary Stu of Gravekeepers. I've never known a more powerful Gravekeeper than this guy. Most of them just potter about, looking at stones and hoping nobody vandalizes them. This guy, though, super Gravekeeper. Gravekeeper Spear Soldier comes back from the GY, and his attack is raised to 2,000. And then Gravekeeper Chief activates his trap card, Gravekeeper Spirit, which allows him to summon another grave monster. Sorry, I think I've died of boredom and gone to the graveyard at this point. And the Gravekeeper Chief summons Gravekeeper's Curse. And at this point, I've noticed that Gravekeeper Chief rolls his R's like nobody's business. I'm used to seeing some nice rolling R's on this show, but not so much the rolling R's. After Gravekeeper's Curse is summoned, he automatically deals 500 points of damage to Jaden's life points. And Jaden's life points drop to 500, and worryingly, he looks like he's about to go Super Saiyan. And for the record, I wouldn't think twice about blowing up that filthy monkey and his planet, Mr. So-called Super Saiyan Duelist. And when you see Bastion, tell him I said, like a bitch. The lids on the coffins close so much that only a crack is left open, which is still just enough for Chumley's stank to escape. But of course the Gravekeepers don't notice it because they've been around the stench of decay for a long time. Jaden gets back up and tells himself that he must face the Gravekeeper Chief for his friends.
Come on, Jaden. You gotta get your game on. You gotta get it on for your friends.
You want to get it on for your friends? I guess I'll set the mood lighting then.
They're all counting on you, and I won't let them down. Especially when down means 6 feet under in an old sarcophagus.
Yeah, but at least your best friend Winged Kuriboh is A-OK. Right? Imagine if there was a little Kuriboh-sized coffin with, like, extensions for the wings right next to the 4 coffins with his friends in. Be pretty messed up. Gravekeeper Chief commands Gravekeeper's assailant to attack Jaden, and Gravekeeper's assailant does a flip. And as Gravekeeper's assailant attacks, her effect kicks in, causing Dark Catapulter to change from defense mode to attack mode. Then there's a weird sort of 10 seconds worth of delay between Gravekeeper's assailant getting to Dark Catapulter and actually attacking him. And it looks like Jaden kind of recognizes Gravekeeper's assailant, because obviously it's the girl from before that helped him. I mean, duh. But it's a weird moment. And during Gravekeeper's assailant's slow-motion existential crisis, Jaden finds the time to activate his emergency provisions and gain 2,000 life points for all the cards he sent to the graveyard. Gravekeeper Chief is not happy.
Curse you, but assailant's attack still cuts through. Go, Stealth Slice Strike!
The more you yell the attack name, the less stealthy it becomes. And I just want to highlight this very impressive explosion animation that occurs when Dark Catapulter is destroyed. Wasn't that nice? Wasn't that a nice little explosion animation? Nice, wasn't it? I rather liked it, yeah. Jaden's life points once again drop, this time to 1,500. And as Gravekeeper's assailant gets back to the other side of the field, the Gravekeeper Chief chastises her.
You should have attacked faster.
What? So the slow motion part was her genuinely being indecisive about stabbing a robot dragon. Jaden says,
Hey, it's not her fault you messed up.
Wait, are they implying that because assailant was kind of slow attacking, Jaden had time to activate a spell card? Isn't there meant to be a natural order to how things play out? It's got nothing to do with how slow she was. I don't call an attack in the card game and go slowly push the card towards my opponent, and if he's got time to use his other cards, then I'm boned. That's not how it works, characters from another dimension.
Shut your mouth. Better yet, why don't I just shut it for you?
You know, this guy cops a pretty big attitude for someone whose job is essentially president of gravekeeping. Gravekeeper Chief reminds Jaden that he still has an attack left, and he shoots a bolt of red energy from his hand at Jaden. And Jaden uses the jammy trap card Draining Shield, which not only negates the attack, but gives Jaden the amount of life points equal to the Gravekeeper Chief's attack points. And given the amount of lip that the Gravekeeper Chief has shown, that's a pretty high attack. Then Spear Soldier attacks Jaden and his life points drop to 1900. Is the rest of this duel just going to be watching Jaden take hit after hit? Because frankly, that would elevate it to one of my top favorite duels. As expected, Gravekeeper Chief is not done yet.
And now, Gravekeeper's curse attacks with Doomsday Purge!
Funnily enough, Doomsday Purge is also the name of what happens when you use the toilet after a night at an all-you-can-eat Mexican place, and then you follow that up with a tour of Chumley's dad's hot sauce factory. Gravekeeper's curse causes Jaden to go into magical, painful convulsions. And it's just wonderful. Check it out. You know what? Let's watch that one more time. Jaden's life points drop even further, and the coffin lids close even more on his friends, which at this point is a bit of a mercy for most people, as Chumley just dropped a massive Doomsday Purge in his. Jaden does that obnoxious thing where it looks like he's crying, but then it turns out he's laughing because he's having a good time while his friends are dying, because apparently he's insane. Seriously, the only two people that do that are the Joker and Jaden Yuki. And one of those characters is likable. Danger. Jaden farts in the face of danger.
And you say that you are having a blast.
You got that right, because no thread's about to be cut.
Gravekeeper Chief activates Royal Tribute. Tell us a little bit about Royal Tribute, Gravekeeper Chief.
Go Royal Tribute! It's a spell.
Oh. Well, I was hoping for a little bit more than that, but okay. Royal Tribute, it turns out, causes both players to have to discard their monsters in their hands to the graveyard. Jaden is very frustrated, as the only monster he has left in his hand is the Warrior Returning Alive, and he can't even use that one's effect in the graveyard because of Necro Valley. Jaden looks around judgmentally at the Necro Valley around him, presumably projecting all of his inadequacies onto it. And then he looks at his duel disc, and he thinks he has to draw the right card, which, as you know, is a very unique cliffhanger in the Yu-Gi-Oh! Series. It's very rare that we are left wondering if the protagonist will be able to draw, miraculously, the one card that he needs. Ever. It just never happens. It's a very original spin on the Yu-Gi-Oh! Tropes, having him look at his duel disc and want the card that he wants. Thrilling, really. And then Jaden draws Elemental Hero Blade Edge. What a relief, I was on the edge of my bloody seat. And he thinks to himself how sweet that is. Then again, he probably thinks the exact same thing about doing his laundry. Sweet, I gotta put all the colors in by themselves and all the whites in separately. That is so sweet. Jaden stares at the two cards in his hand and imagines them both making out with each other. And Jaden says he doesn't need to sacrifice anything. All he needs is the Necro Valley field spell.
Necro Valley simply negates any effects aimed at monsters in the graveyard.
Exactly, but not the effects coming out of the graveyard.
Ironically, the effects coming out of the graveyard was the Japanese name for the movie Night of the Living Dead. Jaden Yuki handles the what chant better than most WWE superstars.
What?
Don't what me, you know exactly what I mean.
Jaden points out that he had to send a lot of monsters to his graveyard as a result of Royal Tribute. Man, if only I could remember what kind of card Royal Tribute was.
Go Royal Tribute! It's a spell.
That's right, it's a spell. Good thing I had that flashback. Apparently, one of the monsters that Jaden was forced to discard because of Royal Tribute was Elemental Hero Necroshade. Ooh, the edgiest of Elemental Heroes. Their butt is a portal to hell. Necroshade allows Jaden to summon a monster without using sacrifices one time.
And one time is all that I need.
Jaden Yuki describing his sex life right there. And of course, Jaden uses this to bring out Elemental Hero Blade Edge, who despite his name is not nearly as edgy as Elemental Hero Necroshade. And in one fell swoop, Jaden uses Elemental Hero Blade Edge to wipe out the remainder of Gravekeeper Chief's life points. Jaden says, "It's game," and as Necro Valley slowly necro-vanishes, Jaden finds himself back on the platforms overlooking the pit on the temple grounds. All of the other gravekeeping staff rush over to Gravekeeper Chief to make sure he's okay. Even Jaden tries to run over to check on him, but the guards all threaten him with spears. And then the Gravekeeper Chief waves them off and says that Jaden deserves to live, as he was an impressive opponent. Yeah, I especially liked... That was brilliant. Jaden once again insists that he had a really great time having that duel with the Gravekeeper Chief, even though his friends' lives were at risk the entire time. The Gravekeeper Chief congratulates Jaden on his rather unique victory.
For having overcome your trials, I bequeath to you this mystic medallion.
Oh, is this gonna turn into Shenmue? Is he gonna have to run off and find Lan Di?
It is yours.
Really? For me?
Oh, he's gonna break that thing in an afternoon. He's probably just gonna trade it for egg witches, you know that, right? Jaden is, of course, extremely grateful for this prize that has been extended to him by people from a different culture.
Ah, some gift.
Oh, f*** off. The Gravekeeper Chief explains that the only other person to have passed this test has the other half. Wait, how did you know that there would only ever be 2 dudes that were able to do it? Why didn't you split it into like 6 pieces? Oh, it has to be 2 people. I mean, I guess if they have to duel each other to have the whole thing, that does make sense. Still though, the coffin lids finally open, allowing Jaden's friends and Pharaoh the Cat to escape. Brah, I haven't been this upset since someone sprinkled me with a small amount of water. Brah, I say. Chumley and Professor Banner are both very relieved as well.
Whoa, turn down the lights, man. Oh, I love light. Light is my friend.
Getting ahead of yourself a bit there, Banner. You gotta wait till season 2 for that light bollocks. The power of Alexis's unnaturally large bazongas is too much for the bandages to take, and they just explode off.
Wow, Jaden, you saved us.
You know, I really need to stop awakening fetishes within myself. Later, Jaden reunites with the others at the base of the temple.
I knew you would pass this test, Jaden.
Really? But you've seen him fail so many in class. Jaden is randomly, extremely anally retentive.
Wait, what do you mean test? Don't you mean challenge?
I mean, test and challenge are fairly interchangeable phrases, Jaden. I'm not sure what you're trying to imply by that. Probably that Banner is secretly doing something, you know, underhanded, but still, bit anal. But not to worry, Banner plays it off perfectly.
Yes, of course. I mean, test, challenge, it is all the same, am I right? All that matters is you won. Isn't that right, guys?
Why would any of this be suspicious to anybody? The Gravekeeper Chief explains that it's time for them to return to their own world.
Go to the gate of the tomb, just as the 3 lights combine into one, so that the Veil of Radiance appears before you.
Man, your planet must be on some kind of messed up axis if all 3 of your suns line up twice in the same day. Suddenly, a large number of temple guards show up and brandish their spears at Jaden and his friends.
They must be punished, either by you or by us.
I know this might seem unreasonable of them, but this is a pretty common reaction to having to spend half a day with Jaden. Hey temple guards, who's your favorite iteration of Solid Snake?
Punished! Punished!
The guards close in on Jaden, but then Gravekeeper's assailant swoops in all sexy, stealthy assassin-like and blocks their blows. The penny finally drops, and Jaden recognizes Gravekeeper's assailant as that girl from before, which of course was difficult for him to figure out because there are so many women here.
Yes, I'm Gravekeeper's assailant. I'm sorry I fought you, but I had to obey my chief.
Hey, it's cool.
Well, I'm glad that redemption arc was wrapped up as quickly as it was introduced. That horny little bugger Cyrus says that Jaden's being rude by not introducing them to his new friend.
Don't you think it's rude to not introduce me, us, to your friend?
Go find your own friends.
Ah, the embodiment of Yu-Gi-Oh's themes right there. Go find your own friend. Gravekeeper's assailant explains her entire deal.
When you finally return to your world, please give a message to the owner of the other half. Tell him Yasmin's still in the other world, but I haven't forgotten him. And that I believe one day we will meet again.
Oh, boyfriend.
Yes, because that is clearly the only thing stopping her from dating you, Jaden. That one thing. Yasmin implores the temple guards not to kill Jaden and his friends. After all, they are the Grave Keepers, not the Grave Makers. Well, where the hell are the grave makers? Somebody must have made all these graves. Are they slacking off, these grave makers? Get them out here now. You know, Gravemaker would actually be a really edgy version of the Yu-Gi-Oh! Vrain's protagonist. Not that he needs to be much edgier, you know. The temple guards all quickly disperse, not wanting to come to blows with the enormous threat that is Yasmin. Jaden wonders out loud where they're supposed to go to escape from this dimension, and then Winged Kuriboh full-on emerges from Jaden Yuki's butt. What?
Winged Kuriboh.
I refuse to believe that that is where Winged Kuribohs come from. Now I'm just imagining a Yu-Gi-Oh! Spin-off where all the monsters are summoned from people's butts. Be like a weird Keijo Yu-Gi-Oh! Crossover. And I would watch the hell out of it. Jaden gives chase, closely followed by Cyrus, who is busy rubbing his eyes, presumably because he just had to watch a Winged Kuriboh come straight out of Jaden's butt. We then see Jaden and company rushing toward one of the larger obelisks in the sky, where the three suns are already starting to merge. They each rush toward the arch that will lead them home, only for Chumley to slip and fall. Leave him, just leave him, just fucking leave him, leave him, just leave him.
Are you okay?
Leave him! Chumley grabs his knee and explains it's an old tricycle injury. Yeah, probably from when your dad threw a tricycle at you for not wanting to work in hot sauce.
Just go on without me. You don't have time to wait. Seriously.
It's true, just leave him, just fucking leave him, just leave him. He's gonna be gone this time next season anyway. He's useless. Just leave him.
No way, Chumley. We're not leaving you behind.
Boo. Bad call, Jaden. And then fucking Death Koala flies out of Chumley's butt and flexes its belly in the sky. And then Death Koala just picks up Chumley and starts legging it towards the arch with him. This is the most active koala I've ever seen in my life. They're meant to spend 23 hours a day fucking napping. Green magical energy starts shooting out of the ground and envelops Jaden and his friends, and they all start to dissolve one by one. Oh no, the Orichalcos has taken their souls. Wrong show. Back in their regular dimension, we see now that all the structures from before have fallen once again to ruin, as they were before the group left. And we see Alexis laying on Jaden all shippy-like. Winged Kuriboh fucking nags Jaden until he wakes up. Now all I want is a Winged Kuriboh alarm clock that just goes at me until I wake up finally. Jaden stands up and looks around at all the others who are still unconscious.
Must have all just been a hallucination from those moldy sandwiches.
Wait, you can trip out on old sandwiches? What are you putting in these sandwiches, Jaden Yuki? Also, why did you pack moldy sandwiches? It takes looking at the half medallion hanging around his neck for Jaden to realize that no, it was not a massive sandwich-induced hallucination, and that shit actually happened. Jaden comments ominously that he believes the shadows will be back. Yeah, probably when you end up bribing someone to do your homework for you by giving them that ancient magical artifact you are currently holding around your lanky anime neck. And that is the end of the two-parter duel. What did you guys think? I liked the two-parter. I liked the fact that we got to explore some of the more magical aspects of the Yu-Gi-Oh! GX world. I'm not sure how I felt about the duel itself, because while there was some cool gimmicks going on, I was a little sick of talking about Gravekeeper monsters. I don't know, maybe it's more exciting when you're playing something like that to have like a million different monsters that are the same monster type, but I don't know, just watching Gravekeepers come out over and over again. It's kind of like a Gravekeeper clown car at a certain point. I am very intrigued about the mysteries that are being established, such as who is the clandestine group that Banner is testing Jaden with? And what's the half medallion all about? Does the other half belong to, like, Alexis's brother or something? That would be my theory, especially considering they made a point of saying that one of the last places Alexis's brother was those ruins, so I assume that that's who that is. But I could be wrong, I don't actually know. But yes, please let me know what you Gravekeeper viewers thought of that Gravekeeper episode in the Gravekeeper comments. But enough about gravekeeping, let's do some promise keeping and give a massive shout out to all of our Patreon pledges. Thank you so much, guys. The names of all of you who have pledged $50 or more are going across the bottom of the screen there. And thank you so much to each and every one of you. I really wouldn't have the nerve or the gall or the fortitude or the heart more than anything to do what we do if it weren't for you guys. And I want to thank you so much for giving to me everything that you've given. Like, not just monetarily, obviously, but emotionally, supportively, symbolically, everything. Thank you so much. Yeah, that's all we have time for this week. Please stay tuned for the next one, episode 29 of Yu-Gi-Oh! GX, which promises to be extremely exciting. Everybody keeps telling me that stuff's about to go down in this show. Like, I'm about to come across some sort of story arc that's very exciting for a lot of people. I don't know. I'm going into foreign territory here. I've never even begun to watch this far into Yu-Gi-Oh! GX or even consider it. So I'm going in blind, and I'm very excited. I'm very keen to see where we go and where Jaden Yuki's adventures take him. So let's find out. Until next time, I'm going to leave you with this beautiful series of images, and I will catch you later.